Awesome, Aaron. Good morning. We are live. Episode.
Good
This is
morning.
like week 12. Like that.
Are we on week 12?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, God, where are we at in this whole entire journey? Because I see we're almost coming to an end, with Good to Great here. We only got a couple more chapters. So, yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start talking about the next book.
I know. We'll have that conversation here. I think in the next week or two, we're gonna have to start discussing where we're going next.
Yeah.
So
It feels good. Like as you start to get to the end of it, I don't know. The completion of stuff is always nice, right?
yeah,
Finished,
yeah,
it's a win.
yeah, yep, definitely. Any day you learn something new is a good day.
It's the best day. Yeah. All right. Well, I suppose we will get underway. Make sure the stream is good here. All right. So, entering into a culture of discipline, that chapter. So,
Yeah.
That I don't know, short chapter, but there was a lot kind of packed in there.
Yeah, there was. What I really liked was that it really built off of some of the principles of the previous chapters, and now you're starting to talk about you've laid the groundwork, you've got the right people, you've got the right principles, and now it's time to really put it into action. And this is kind of the way to start the gate is having that culture of discipline. So if you're on that slide here that's got that graph.
Yep.
Or that chart, that square chart. I thought this was really, really good, really well done. The matrix of creative discipline, kind of just showing where you're at in your journey. So if you're on the low end, the low ethic of entrepreneurship and low culture of discipline, you're in a bureaucratic organization, which basically means you're spinning your wheels. You're not really getting very far anywhere. Put a little bit of ethics into it. You've got more of a startup organization. So yeah, you don't have very much of a culture of discipline. You're kind of reacting on a day-to-day basis, but you do have a sense of entrepreneurship and a sense of what you want to get done. So that's where you're at in that journey. And then if you move up the ladder, low ethics, but high culture of discipline, you have a hierarchical organization, not necessarily the greatest. And then obviously high and high, you got a great organization. So I like that. That's a very good picture, really good way of showing it. And it is. I mean, it's all about building that culture around the idea of freedom and responsibility, but within a framework. Which that's very, very well stated sentence, because that's exactly where you want to be. I think in an organization, you don't want to be felt like you're being watched. I've often said, micromanagement is the killer of business, and it is.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to operate with a little bit of freedom. And a little bit of responsibility, a little bit of I did that, I made that happen. But it's got to be around a good, solid framework. If you don't have that framework, then all of the wheels are going to be spinning in multiple directions, and you're not going to get anything done.
Yeah, 100%. It's that I'm with you, because I've been in that position of not having. I went from having lots of leadway at one point, right? So maybe that more startup feel, less structure, but then like right into hierarchy, right? Like you had no leadway, you had no ability to make a decision,
Yep.
And oh my goodness, I mean, there's just for my personality, I can tell you that is not a place that I can be at very long. I don't survive in that type of a culture. I don't want to have. I don't need to be able to make all the decisions, but being able to make decisions within a realm and make that call, and you've got that. It's more of a feeling of self-worth, I guess. Maybe to my, if I was to think about my feeling of it, yeah.
Well, I think it's hard to feel. You feel like you're trusted if you can. You're given like a simple example, you're given a company credit card. You're trusted with that credit card to make good decisions that's, with the company's money. If you're not, if you constantly have to go to somebody to say, hey, I need $450 for this expense, and you have to, testify beyond a grand jury about why you should have this expense justified. It just you lose trust, and I think it's a really quick way to burn people out. People should have the ability to move within that culture freely, not be scared. But they should understand that they do have that responsibility for the best owners of the company, and that is created with that culture. If I have that culture, I'm going to go to work for the company as hard as I possibly can, because I know that the company trusts me and that they're willing to stand up for me. So that's it kind of goes in that second point there. Fill the culture with self-disciplined people who are willing to go to the extreme lengths to fulfill their responsibilities. That's great. I mean, that was one of the founding principles of the beginning half of this book, was finding the right people, getting the right people on the bus. And that is the case, because oftentimes you as a business owner, you lay out this culture, you lay out this framework that you think is golden, it's bulletproof, you're never going to have any problems, and all of a sudden one bad monkey gets on the bus and all hell breaks loose. Somebody's stealing funds or making some on the side or undercutting jobs, whatever they're doing, but they're really, really undermining your whole entire organization. So there is a very keen point in there in finding the right people on the bus.
Well, and I've always had that thought of, if you're gonna go through the effort to find the right people and compensate those people, right? I mean, you're hiring them for a reason. You're bringing them on the team because they know what they're doing. That's the idea to this, right? That you've hired them, so you should trust them. To me, that just seems like hand in hand. Like if I'm bringing you on the team, it's because I trust you, and not to watch you 24 hours a day, because I've got I got other things I got to get done.
Right, yeah. And it's top to bottom too. It's not just we're kind of talking, I think, on the higher level, like the sales or the management level. It goes all the way down to the low level, the part-time employees that are coming in. Summer help or whatever, just the small time guys, but you have to hire them based on trust too, because obviously they can do things that can harm you greatly. So it is really a top to bottom function. Next point there, that no tyrannical disciplinarians. That's a tough word to say. That's very important. I mean, I was never really in a situation that I worked for a tyrant. I hope to God that nobody ever does, but I know that they're out there. I know that there's people out there that believe that they paved the way for this organization, so it's their way or the highway, or I'm going to micromanage the hell out of everything because I know everything and you know nothing. I know that that's out there. I just hope to God that nobody that's watching this ever has to go through something like that, because I can only imagine the living hell that you're going through. It's just not a very good way to do business, to live your life. Nothing good is going to come from it. Nothing at all.
No, it's an unhealthy culture, right? I mean, you've got people that come in every day that don't necessarily want to be there, not going to put their best effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
They're most likely already looking for another opportunity somewhere. So you don't. It's just nothing good comes from that.
No, nothing at all. Nothing at all. Except for loneliness, if you like to be lonely.
Now, I think though that can be misinterpreted to somebody who's micromanages, right? That they micromanage potentially. I see it a lot, and I know I was guilty of this at times, and I would catch myself. I know when I was starting up my business and bringing people on, I would micromanage because, it's your name, right? So you're very worried about the impression or whatever that's going out, and you'd want to make sure everything was just right, but you're still there. Like, I know that I cared about the people, and I hope I think they all took that away. So I don't feel like I was a tyrant, and I now I kind of hope that that's not how it was taken. But I think that you got to be careful, right? I mean, if there's something between being able to tell, people above you that, hey, if you trust me, right? That's not, I will give me some leadway and I will make all the right decisions. That's not micromanage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a tyrant, right? Like, I think that gets misinterpreted sometimes.
Yeah, it does, and I agree with that. When I ran my plant, I was guilty many times of micromanaging, but it's just I had the experience. I knew how it was supposed to go, and to watch people fail was like the worst thing for me. I never wanted to watch people fail. I'd more or less rather just go over there and fix what they were doing. So it is difficult, but looking back, I kick myself in the ass because you wish those people would have gone through that experience with that failure because they learned something,
Yes.
and I took that opportunity away from them. I thought I was doing something right, but I wasn't. I was fixing the problem in the interim, but creating a much bigger problem down the line because that person never really knew the true way of doing something because I always just went by and fixed it.
Yeah,
so
they weren't growing. Yeah.
Yes, they weren't growing. So at some point in time, and there is no magic bullet of when this time is, you have to be able to let the reins go a little bit, and let the horses run per se. It is difficult from an ownership standpoint, from a managerial standpoint, very difficult to watch people fail. It's so difficult. I mean, especially when you know that the answer is there. But it's something that you have to go through. You have to let it go.
When it can be, especially in smaller shops, right? In smaller companies where, some of that stuff gets magnified, greater, issues or whatever, or holdups because, material's not going out. So it can be tough to, hear what we're saying. Like, hey, make sure that the people grow and learn, and, we all did, right? It's learn by doing, and you're going to make mistakes along the way, keep the catastrophic issues from happening, but allow people to move left and right, right? So.
Well, that last point there is a good one too. Create stop doing lists. I think that's a good thing. It's a good exercise. Creating a list of things that you're doing wrong, things that you need to stop doing. Kind of counterintuitive. Normally, you make lists to do things that you need to do. But yeah, making a list of things to stop doing, because oftentimes we were just talking about before we got live here, we were just talking about calling people back. That's something to put on that stop doing list. Stop not calling people back. Because you can create a bigger problem by not doing some of these things. So I think you could sit down honestly any day and just take a list of everything that you're probably doing that's not a good use of your time, not a good use of your company's time. Write them down, because there's great power in writing things down. There's great power in seeing that on a piece of paper, or writing them on an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and that way you have a visual indicator of things that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. I real quick, I apologize. I'm going to jump off our topic here for a second. So for any, and Aaron, you can make your statement, but I'm going to say for any salespeople, ladies and gentlemen, any salespeople out there that are listening, that is the number one complaint of homeowners in this industry. Of, we always worry about getting a bad rap as contractors and salespeople. It has to do with not returning a phone call. That is like the number one complaint. Oh, they just never called me back. Like, we're never that busy. You can call them and say, I can't do it. And actually find out that they'll wait for you. If you're that busy, they potentially want you to do the work. They'll wait for you to not be busy anymore. Like, just, it's long-term publicity, right? It's who you are. If they want to do a job 5 years from now, they're like, oh, that guy never called me back. I called him 5 times. Never. Like, just call people back. All right, I'm off that, because that is like
it's really important too. I mean, manufacturing is the same way. I mean, it's exactly the same way. If you have a client or a contractor, an engineer, a specifier, I think you always kind of think, okay, that guy from previous history. He's a little bit long-winded. He's probably going to talk your ear off for a little bit. So like, I'll just push it off. I'll push it off. I'll get it after lunch. After lunch is like, I'll get it after 3, or I'll get it at the end of the day because I know that conversation will be short. And eventually it's just pushed off the plate altogether, and then you miss the phone call back. Well, then the next day that phone call becomes even worse because you forgot to call the guy back or the gal back. So, and it's the same, like I know from my standpoint, getting stuff in from suppliers used to drive me nuts when they wouldn't call me back. Call me back. I'm doing business with you. I'm doing a lot of business with you. Just call me back. I don't care if the news is good news or bad news. Just call me back. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, I hear you. It drives you nuts. I think some people that just don't. I mean, and I don't care what job sector you work at. I imagine it's probably the same. It's just
across all of it. Yes.
Yeah, just call people back. So, well, this next slide's it's another good graphical representation of where we're operating. So you see that in the build-up phase, we have disciplined people that we've got on the bus. We got the right people on the bus. We have disciplined thought. We talked about that hedgehog concept and, shaving our days so that it's properly balanced. And now we're starting to break through. We're starting to take action. So we have disciplined action, so we're doing things per our plan with the right people in the right fashion. That's what we're doing. So this text here is direct out of the book, and it's really good. I wanted to copy it verbatim because it was really well said, and I underlined some of the key points, and I'll just read this. Everyone would like to be the best, but most organizations lack the discipline to figure out with egoless clarity. Now, I underlined that, egoless clarity. We'll talk about that.
Yep. What
they could be the best at, and the will, again, underline that as well, to do whatever it takes to turn that potential into reality. So that's a great sentence. I love that sentence. Phenomenal. Just absolutely great. And it is, because everybody does want to be the best. They all strive for the best. But when you take down the nuts and bolts of what it takes to be the best, that's where we fail. That's that egoless clarity. Egoless clarity to me, it means that we are not letting ourselves get in the way of our dream. And that's often what we do, is we do get in the way of our own dream, because we have this insane passion for wanting to be the best, and we don't see what's right in front of us. We don't see the good people. We don't see the good framework. We don't see the concepts and the principles that we put into place, because we are so dead focused on that being the best, and we'll do anything to get there. That's what egoless clarity is to me.
Yeah, when I read it, I was a little bit on a different side. I see that as, or at least I took it as that, you want to be the best, but is it for the right reasons, right? So the people that are part of that organization, are you trying to achieve to be the best for your namesake, right? Like, is this for you, or is this to be the best for the company, right? Because then other decisions come into play. You maybe make decisions or pass on decisions because it wasn't necessarily best for Hardscape Nate, right? Can't promote, I'm not promoting myself, right? So there's an ego, right? I'm gonna only promote it when it's best for me, and not necessarily best for the company, where maybe it's not me. Maybe Aaron, it shines on you brighter. Right, that's how I kind of took that. Well, no,
and I think we're saying the same thing in two different ways.
Okay.
Because it is. I mean, you yourself, have not you, Nate, but if we're thinking about an ego, we're thinking about ourselves. We're thinking about ourselves. So if we create an organization, we need to start thinking for the best of the organization and ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, but the two have to go hand in hand. If you want to think solely about yourself, then you should have started a sole proprietorship and gone into business on your own. If you start an organization, you have to worry about those that work for you. And that's what I think gets lost, is because we think so much about ourselves and forget what we have going on around us. We forget about our people. And that's where we falter when we're doing things like this. So that's so crucial. God, it's amazing. It reads right out of my playbook.
Oh, yeah.
And then to go the second half, they can be the best and the will to do whatever it takes to turn that potential into reality. Now that is, sheer will to to do what's needed is hard. Sometimes it's very hard. Getting to the best, to be the peak, the pinnacle, the number one, the gold medal. It takes insatiable amount of time and effort. But sometimes we just don't have that will. Sometimes our organization just doesn't have that will, and that's a tough thing to really teach and to coach. It's just you have to really, when it comes down to it, just put your gloves on and go to work every day.
Yeah, that's a true personality trait, right? Like I think of that as the old saying, when the tough gets going, or the tough get going, or what is it? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Holy cow! I knew I'd nail that. Right? When it starts to get ugly and sticky and everything that business is in general, to not get dragged down, to not, like you said, like it's kind of like not calling somebody back type of thing, right? Oh, I'm gonna deal with this problem later. I'll take care of this later.
Yep.
You're just piling things up and you're going in the opposite direction.
Yeah. And it's so difficult. I mean, because a journey in business is not always sunshine and rainbows. A lot of times it's shit in the gutter. I mean, it's just you have some bad days, and if you want a common job, then go work at McDonald's, but you're not going to be successful. You're not going to get anywhere. To be successful in business, it takes those punches in the eye. It takes getting back up again. I can't tell you how many times I've been down a job that was just going absolutely sour, and I'm just like, God, I'd give anything to just fast forward 6 months from now and just fast forward, I hope I go to sleep tonight and just not wake up for 6 months. I can't tell you how many times I said that to myself. And, but end of the day, you took some bumps and some bruises, but you learned from it. You got better, and you look back, and that job is like, oh God, that was a pain in the ass job. I can't believe we ever made it out of there. But you did. You made it out of there.
And those make you stronger, right? I mean, those wins, whether it was really a win or not, it was a win that you got to the other side and you kept your head up. And now the fortitude and the strength to continue on past another issue and another issue, because like you said, they're going to happen, right? There's no straight trajectory of business. Like I started and it's all here. It is a squiggly line all over the board. And you got to be prepared for the back turns and the cuts and the downs.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, that last slide there, a little grammatical error. There we go. Speaking on discipline, we did talk about that hedgehog concept, talking about defining your circles, and oftentimes we see things that may take us outside of those circles. So, those circles are your guidelines. And, certainly if you want to follow the good to great mentality in business, you really got to really define those circles. And I don't, I think when we talked about this concept last week, I don't think I really got it until I read this chapter this week, and really understanding the true meaning of those circles, and follow them to a T, and not getting outside of that realm. Because oftentimes you get that opportunity, say you're precasting, and all of a sudden, some jurisdictional comes in and says we got a large box culvert project or something. Well, you don't make box culvert, but how do you pass up a $5 million project that's literally right down the road from you? So you're trying everything that you possibly can to get there. You're calling these guys, get forms and everything, and and then all of a sudden you realize, hey, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing here. I'm driving without a steering wheel.
Yeah.
So sometimes those opportunities that are outside your realm, outside of your focus, they may look attractive. They may be that golden shiny nugget that is primed for picking. But there may be a dark side to that nugget, and you have to understand that. And that's a very hard concept. It's a lot of self-control, a lot of self-discipline. Oftentimes, you're probably going to reach for that nugget, and sometimes it's going to bite you.
Yeah, they always seem so close in reach, don't they? I
Yeah.
I've come across this. I know I've made some reaches that I should have never made.
Mm-hmm.
They always it's right there. That's not a big deal.
Yep. Yeah.
It's the iceberg mentality, right? Like
Yep.
the nugget looks all beautiful up top, but right below it is where all of it lies, and it's all ready to just blow up in your face.
Yeah. 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 And that's it is. It was top of that slide, discipline. That's what this is all about, is discipline. I could tell you from firsthand experience, a lot of my journeys and my past has really helped me with discipline. My wife will tell you that I'm probably too even keeled. I don't react to very much. I don't get emotional. Which I don't know. You could call it a character flaw. You can call it what it is, but I take it just as experience and as discipline. I have yet to see the worst day of my entire life, and I've had a lot of bad days. And so that's kind of how I always think, is that, the day could always be worse. It can always be worse. It could be better, but it could always be worse. So like I said, you'll never see me really ever get, emotionally reactive where I'm coming unglued on somebody. It just doesn't ever happen. Even with my kids, I got, my 4 monkeys running around here. I don't get emotional with them either. So it's just who I am.
I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I like the fact that I feel like decisions are more clear, right? Or whatever they like, understanding what to do next when you're not emotional. You're not jumping, right? That's what that whole emotional is. You're jumping to something, and you're able to weigh out both sides of what could be going on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's reacting emotionally is just exactly it. That's where you start getting in trouble with business. I think it's where when you start thinking on your gut reaction instead of just sitting back and analyzing everything, where it's coming in, and what's the potential trials and tribulations that you're going to go through to get there. What's the positives? How's this going to benefit me? So having a good discipline approach in your business is going to benefit you tenfold. If you're needing to help with that, that's something that you really should seek a mentor, because I know I learned a lot from my mentors on self-discipline, self-control, as well as a lot of my bumps on my journey. So a discipline approach is the best approach.
Yeah, I can't say it any better.
That's all I got.
It was a low. I mean, like I said, it was a short chapter, but like a lot of stuff crammed into it. Or
yeah,
I don't even know if I want to say a lot of stuff crammed into it, but like, I don't know. Again, personal thought. And I keep saying this. I don't want to sound like a broken wheel, but like, I have a hard time concentrating in books, because I always, wherever I'm reading, I go back to what did I do in this situation. And I find myself thinking about that as I'm reading them. I'm like, oh my God, I got to go back and read it again because I missed some of this. Because I'm always thinking about, like, how did I do this situation? Or what was my, did I actually show discipline? No, I did. Okay, I didn't do it here. This chapter, it was long for me because I was cutting back and forth all the time.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, that's what these books, that's the value that these books bring to the table, is to have that reflection, to have that thought process. My wife and I will go back and forth because she reads the fiction novels where she's, dating He-Man or whatever, or, the rose petals on the bathtub, kind of thing. And I just can't get into books like that because it just doesn't interest me. It's not reality to me. Reality is a book like Good to Great, where I'm sitting and I'm taking an hour to read a chapter because I'm spending most of my time in personal reflection. I'm not blazing through some fictitious story of the stallion and the steed. I'm actually getting down to the grit and the dirty of what's going on. My wife always tells me, she's like, is there something wrong with you because you keep reading all these self-help books? And I'm like, no, I enjoy them. They help me reflect. They help me learn. So I really do enjoy them. I for the first time in my life, I actually enjoy reading something.
Yeah.
So, and that's the joy that they bring, and I hope that's the joy that they bring to all you guys that are listening in on these conversations and reading along with.
I think there is. I mean, I'll be careful, but I think entrepreneurial mindset is the same in all this, right? Like you're always, because I find myself the same thing. We go to Barnes and Noble. and she's grabbing all these other random books. I don't want to say random, but just like your wife, stories of whatever. And I'm in the business section, on marketing, on things that all that stuff just interests me. And then I go back to I reflect back on my thoughts, and it's honing my skill. I don't know. And I think that's a good thing. I know it's a good thing, and I hope people always look at it as that I can always be better tomorrow, or I always want to be better tomorrow, right? So I'm always constantly wanting to hone whatever that skill is. I want to know a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. I'm never quite quenched on what I know on something.
Yeah, it's very well said. My Monday morning talk, my quote was from Simon Sinek, and said, "The goal is not to be the best; it's to be better than yesterday, better than today." I think better today. That's what he says, and I think that's great. I mean, that's exactly it. Because oftentimes you focus on trying to be the best, and you lose focus of just being better every day. Because if you can be better every day, then you're better than you were before. So you're obviously going to be the best. So I think that's a very, very key way of looking at things.
I like that. Yeah, I like him. I've got a book that I started and I need to finish of Leaders Eat Last. So. Yep.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Simon's got great principles.
So next week, Chapter 7, Technology Accelerators. So
yep.
I'm curious. We'll dig into that because things change all the time. I'm curious to how that's going to go. So.
Yeah. I was curious. I was going to read ahead, but I got sidetracked into something else because it's a very curious topic, I guess, if you will, where they're going with the technology accelerators. So that'd be interesting.
So we're gonna same bat time, same bat channel next Monday, 11:30, and we'll talk about technology accelerators.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everybody who joined us, and
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
see you next week.
Bye now.